What about a healthy evening night routine? I know that to keep away from the screens. I know that we should eat not too late.
Yeah, I've got a couple of ideas here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please tell me your ideas.
Yep. So what I like to do is I call it the 3-2-1 rule. Okay. So 3 hours before lights out, stop alcohol. Okay. 2 hours before lights out, stop food. 1 hour before lights out, stop fluids. Okay. Make sure you go to the bathroom before you go to bed, especially if you're a guy over age 45, because otherwise you're going to have to get up in the middle of the night and pee.
Which I do every night. Yeah, I do it.
I like that 3-2-1 rule. I think that works out really well. Also, for the last hour of my day, I take that hour and I chop it up into 3 20-minute segments. So it's just 20 minutes for things I have to do. So for me, oftentimes it's a last minute email or finding kids, sports equipment and getting things ready for the next day. Just things that will make my morning a little bit easier. 20 minutes for hygiene. So, brush your teeth, wash your face, take an evening shower, bath, whatever you do. And then 20 minutes for some form of meditation, relaxation, prayer, reading, something, again, to give you runway to land the plane. You just don't want to go, and then fall into bed, right? You really want to give your body that time to slowly wind down. And here's why. I want to be very thoughtful on telling everybody here's why. Because there's one metric that almost nobody knows. In order to enter into a state of unconsciousness, you need a heart rate of about 60 or below.
Is that when you fall asleep, or is because my lowest heart rate is about 50 or 51, but that's the lowest one. That's not the one that I have when I go to sleep. When I go to sleep, it might be, I'm not sure, but I think it's about 60 or 65.
So everybody's a little bit different, but here's the reason why you don't just work, and then notice is you've got to do something to slow your heart rate down to that 60, 65 range. Right. That's what you're using that half an hour for before bed or 20 minutes before bed. For me, I like to do a special kind of breathing called 4-7-8 breathing. It's exactly what it sounds like. You slowly breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, and you breathe out for a count of 8. This has been developed a long time ago, specifically for the U.S. Navy SEALs to help them lower their heart rate very, very rapidly. So this is a great technique. And I personally, I use 4-7-8 breathing, not just to help me fall asleep, but if I'm a little nervous sometimes, like if I'm going to go do a television show or if I'm going to speak in front of a group of people, I'll do 2 or 3 rounds of 4-7-8 breathing. Just calms me down, kind of puts me in place, and I'm like, let's go, and I don't have that nervous energy. I have that calm, relaxed energy. And so I like this technique. I use it often.
Actually, a part of my evening routines the last couple of years, it's been sauna and cold plunging.
Love it.
I love that. But the thing is that people tell me that, you shouldn't do cold plunging before going to bed. But for me, it actually works because I start with sauna and then I do cold plunging and then sauna and then cold plunging and then I finish off with sauna, so that I get the heat before. And I love that. And I think that it's actually improved my sleep.
So I've got some data on that very fact. So one of the things we know is if we elevate the core body temperature about 90 minutes before bed, the subsequent fall helps produce melatonin. So artificially raising your core body temperature by going into a sauna is a great idea before bed, because then your body has to let it fall, and that's the signal to allow you to sleep. Now, what you're doing is even more interesting, and let me tell you why. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I had this patient, and he told me the craziest thing. He said when he had a problem waking up in the middle of the night, and he couldn't go back to sleep. And so what he would do is this is going to sound nuts, he would go and do a cold plunge in the middle of the night. Okay. And he told me, I don't know what it is, but I can fall asleep right after it. And so I looked it up. There's one study to show in the middle of the night, cold plunging actually increased melatonin for him. So that must have been what was going on. Your routine, I like a lot better because it's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot. right?
Yeah,
And so what you're doing is you elevate and then decrease, elevate and then decrease. And then when the last elevation comes, your body does the decrease for you. So you've been priming it the whole time to do what it's supposed to do. And that's probably what's really helping. So I've never heard of anybody doing a routine like yours, but thinking about it, it makes perfect sense.
So my wife, she keeps harassing me, telling me that to put away my phone before bed. How bad is it to watch screens before bed? Because I'm actually very, I do always put the night shift, and not only night shift, I do bring down, it's completely red, you know, it's quite hard to read if you get used to it, but I do know that the night shift itself, it's not enough, but then I bring it all the way down to the, red screen.
So here's what I'll tell you. It's not as much about the amount of blue light as it is about your engagement to the topic.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to get your high score on Candy Crush while you're falling to sleep, you're really not trying to fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what I tell people to do is if you're going to do a screen, have it be something boring, have it not be something that's particularly engaging. Also, the amount of blue light that you're getting, it depends upon how much blue light your eyes have seen during the previous 24 hours as to how much of that frequency hits the rods and cones in the particular way that would be disruptive to sleep. So while I tell people you don't want to sit there and scroll for a long time, if you play with your phone for 15 minutes, then you need to not play with your phone and relax for 15 to 30 minutes type of thing.
Right.
So give yourself a little bit of time to do your thing, and then the alarm goes off and you can click and you can, again, make a gratitude list in your head. Think about really interesting data to show that being positive before falling asleep not only helps you fall asleep more quickly, but gives you more positive dreams.
What about caffeine? What about coffee and tea? How many hours before should you stop drinking?
At the end of the day, remember, coffee has no nutritional value whatsoever, or caffeine rather.
Exactly.
So it's really completely unnecessary in your diet.
Yeah.
So if you can eliminate it, please eliminate it. If you can't, I get it, but follow these guidelines. So in order for your brain to come out of a state of unconsciousness, you need two hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and they're pretty high. When you've woken up and you've got adrenaline and cortisol working around your head, when you add caffeine to that, it's like adding weak tea to somebody who's doing cocaine, okay? It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. But if you just wait 90 minutes after you wake up, the natural degradation of cortisol and adrenaline happens. And if you add caffeine at the 90-minute mark, it actually lifts the adrenaline and cortisol, and you get a bigger bang for your buck. And you only need 1 cup of coffee a day. I've discovered this and I've used it. I don't even drink caffeine probably 3 or 4 days a week. I like to drink a little bit of caffeine right before my weightlifting workouts because I do work out in the mornings and I am a night owl. And so it's hard for me to have enough energy. So I will have a half a cup of coffee just before I work out, but that's usually all I have. And that's always 90 minutes after I've woken up. For folks who can't stop the coffee there, if you can, the best place to start is around 2 p.m. is to stop your caffeine, depending upon your bedtimes.
Which means how many hours before bedtime?
Right. So in Madrid, it's going to be a little different. It might be 4 p.m. there.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is roughly 8 hours before lights out is when you want to stop caffeine, because caffeine has a half-life of about 8 hours, which means 50% is still wandering around your brain at night. And for folks with insomnia, if you can avoid caffeine altogether, it's a good idea.
How does waking up with an alarm clock influence our hormonal balance, especially if it interrupts our sleep cycle?
I hate alarms. I hate them. And the worst is the snooze alarm, right? Where you hit it and then it goes off 9 minutes later and you hit it and it goes off 9 minutes later. So number one, snooze is the worst invention for all of sleep. If you hit that, your body has to go back to stage 1 and then go into 2 and 3. So all you're doing is giving yourself very light, crappy sleep when you're hitting the snooze button. So if you can, avoid the snooze altogether. Set your alarm for the last possible moment when you have to wake up, okay? That's number one. Number two is I tell people all the time, if you can, put the alarm across the room unless it's going to bother your bed partner. Like if they get to wake up later, then don't annoy them by doing that. But if you can, force yourself to get out of bed and walk across the room to turn the alarm off, because that's very, very helpful in kind of kicking off your morning time. Now, as a general guideline, the best way to wake up is with the rising sun without an alarm. That is just, I mean, historically, the literature would say that your body, once enough light comes in the room, your melatonin production comes down and your body wakes up naturally. And that would arguably be the best way to do this. Now, you and I have a problem with that. You want to know why? Because we're night owls and we hate mornings, and we hate morning people. We hate morning. So for us, mornings are tough. And so what we also have to find is an alarm that's effective and not annoying, right? And so there's some alarms that they're so loud or they have an obnoxious tone. That's not really worthwhile. So you have to really play around and find the thing for you that kind of makes the most sense. Especially if you're a night owl and you're having to force yourself to wake up earlier than your body naturally wants you to go. Now, there is another option, which is you talk to your boss and you say, hey, I'm a night owl. It's really hard for me to wake up in the mornings and I'm not producing very good work for you anyway at 8 o'clock. Let me come in at 10. Let me stay until 7.
That's a great idea.
And let's see if I'm more productive. It always works. Always. Right? Because if you can meet people where their body is, where their chronotype is, it works.
Want to learn more about sleep science? Check out Dr. Michael Breus's full interview. And if you're curious, dive into the other episodes too. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.